Monkey Dude!
Leader Monkey runs the biggest jungle in the world. Biggest army, biggest banana market, biggest speeches about prosperity and freedom. But behind all the cheering crowds and flag-waving monkeys, there is a number, a very big number. A number so large that if you stacked that many bananas on top of each other, you'd poke through the clouds and smack a satellite out of orbit. That number is the national debt, and it keeps growing. So what exactly is national debt? See, the jungle government collects leaves from monkeys. Income tax, banana tax, treehouse tax, coconut import tax. All those leaves go into the big jungle treasury. From there, Leader Monkey uses those leaves to pay for roads, hospitals, monkey schools, the army, disaster relief, scientific research, and sometimes very questionable banana innovation programs. So far, so good. The problem starts when Leader Monkey spends more leaves than the jungle collects. If 5 trillion bananas go out but only 4 trillion come in, that missing 1 trillion has to come from somewhere. So the government borrows it. Add up all that borrowing over the years, and that total is the national debt. But who exactly is lending all these leaves? Leader Monkey isn't going door to door asking monkeys for spare change. Instead, the government issues something called jungle bonds. Think of them as IOUs. The government says, give me 100 leaves today, and I promise to give you back 100 leaves later, plus a little extra. That extra is interest, and monkeys love interest. Big banks buy these bonds, pension funds buy them, insurance companies buy them, foreign jungles buy them, even regular monkeys indirectly buy them through retirement accounts. So in many ways, the jungle owes money to its own citizens. That sounds less scary, but it's still debt. Now, some clever monkey might ask, why doesn't Leader Monkey just print more leaves instead of borrowing? Technically, he can. The jungle controls its own leaf printer. But if too many leaves are printed too quickly, the value of each leaf drops. Suddenly, bananas cost more leaves. Tree houses cost more leaves. Everything gets more expensive. That's inflation. And inflation makes monkeys very angry very fast. So instead of printing endless leaves and risking chaos, Leader Monkey borrows leaves and promises to pay them back later with interest. Is debt always bad? Not necessarily. If a monkey borrows 10 leaves to buy a banana smoothie, that's probably a poor decision. But if a monkey borrows 10 leaves to build a banana farm that produces 50 leaves later, that's smart. The same logic applies to governments. Borrowing to build highways, fund research, invest in technology, or respond to emergencies can help the jungle grow stronger and richer in the long run. The real danger isn't borrowing itself. The danger appears when the debt grows faster than the jungle's economy. Economists measure this using something called the debt-to-GDP ratio. GDP is the total number of bananas the jungle produces in a year. If the jungle produces 20 trillion bananas annually and owes 20 trillion bananas, that's a 100% debt-to-GDP ratio. If it owes 40 trillion bananas while producing 20 trillion per year, that's 200%. The higher this ratio climbs, the heavier the burden becomes, because now more and more of the taxes collected must go toward paying interest instead of funding schools, hospitals, or public services. National debt doesn't explode overnight. It builds gradually. Recession hits, the jungle government spends more to stimulate the economy. Debt rises. War breaks out, borrow to fund it. Debt rises. Pandemic? Send relief payments, support businesses, fund healthcare. Debt rises again. Politicians like spending because spending makes monkeys happy. Monkeys like benefits but dislike higher taxes. So the easiest solution in the short term is borrowing. Kick the banana down the road. Let future monkey deal with it. A large portion of the national debt is owed domestically, meaning the jungle owes itself. That's manageable. But some of it is owed to foreign jungles. That's where things get interesting. If foreign investors trust Leader Monkey, they keep buying bonds. Borrowing stays cheap. But if confidence drops, those investors might demand higher interest rates or stop lending altogether. Higher interest rates mean the jungle has to pay more just to borrow the same amount. And that's where pressure builds. Here's where interest becomes a serious issue. If Leader Monkey owes 30 trillion bananas and the average interest rate is 3%, that means roughly 900 billion bananas per year must be paid just to cover interest, before building a single school, before repairing a single road, before funding a single hospital. If interest rates rise to 5%, that number jumps dramatically. Now the jungle is spending enormous sums just servicing old debt instead of improving the future. So what happens if Leader Monkey can't pay? Technically, that's called default. It means failing to meet debt obligations, and that would shake the jungle to its core. Markets would panic, investors would lose trust, interest rates would skyrocket, the economy could spiral. That's why most major jungles avoid default at all costs. They raise taxes, cut spending, borrow more, or even print leaves to prevent it. Default is the last option because the consequences are severe. The uncomfortable truth is that national debt is also political theater. Every few years, politician monkeys shout that the debt is out of control. Then they vote for more spending. Why? Because cutting spending means cutting programs that monkeys rely on. Raising taxes makes voters unhappy. Borrowing is the path of least resistance. Debt becomes a long-term problem, while elections are short-term cycles. There's a mismatch between incentives and consequences. Modern jungles are expensive to run. Healthcare costs rise, defense budgets expand, populations age, social programs grow, tax cuts reduce government revenue. Crises demand emergency spending. Once new programs are introduced, they rarely disappear. Debt becomes structural, not temporary. It becomes part of the system. But here's what keeps everything stable, at least for now. As long as the jungle's economy continues to grow, investors trust Leader Monkey, and the jungle controls its own currency, the system keeps functioning. The jungle can roll over old debt by issuing new bonds. It can manage payments gradually. It can use economic growth to make the debt feel smaller relative to total production. But that balance is delicate. So what are the solutions? There aren't many. Raise taxes, cut spending, grow the economy faster, or allow moderate inflation to slowly reduce the real value of the debt over time. Each solution involves trade-offs and political pain. There is no magical banana tree that erases trillions overnight. National debt doesn't feel urgent to most monkeys because it isn't visible in daily life. Monkeys see grocery prices and rent, not bond markets and yield curves. So politicians focus on what voters feel immediately. Debt is a slow burn. It builds quietly in the background while everyday life goes on. National debt is simply accumulated borrowing. The jungle spent more than it earned year after year, and the difference was covered by issuing bonds. It's like a giant credit card shared by the entire jungle. As long as income keeps growing and lenders trust Leader Monkey, the payments remain manageable. But if growth stalls and confidence fades, that tightrope walk becomes much more dangerous. Leader Monkey walks that tightrope every day, borrowing to fund the present, promising repayment in the future, hoping the jungle keeps growing fast enough to outrun the debt, because leaves are not free, and sooner or later, someone has to account for every banana that was borrowed.